The best advice I've ever gotten from other photographers. Coming up. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. Getting advice from other photographers when you're starting out, or if you have already accomplished something and a seasoned photographer, still some advice from others could be a revelation and some ways of you to start thinking a different way about photography. And the first advice was that the client sees the photographer in the image. What this means is that when you are a professional photographer and photographing for a client, for example, they see you in the photograph in a sense that they feel how fun it was being photographed, if it's a portrait session or something like that, how much they enjoyed the whole session. And this applies, of course, if you are doing interior photography or advertising or whatever you are doing when you are interacting with the client. And that was a really, really important reminder of how important the customer service, for example, is. It's the same thing if you go to a restaurant and you get really nicely treated and everything is nice and you feel good, and most likely the food will taste a lot better. But if you are badly treated and you don't get the table you were promised or something, most likely you will not taste the food as good as it is because you have a bad experience. And that's the same thing with photographs. If you feel good when your photo's been taken, you like the photographer and all that, you will most likely like the image a lot more than if you're treated badly or you have a bad experience with the photographer. And the second one is more about the technique, is look for the light. Light is really important in photography. Well, photography means drawing with light, so you need some light to photograph. I'm not saying that it's most likely the most important element, in a way that there are more important things too in photography, but it's one of the most profound building blocks of a good photograph. Without a good light, or the light that suits the image that you're making and telling a story, the image won't be any good if the light is not good. So in that sense, light might be the most important thing. But always look for the light and see how the light shapes the subject, how the light draws the edges of stuff or something like that. And the best time to photograph is early morning and late at night, during blue hour and during sunrise, because then the light comes low, it's more soft and all that. So that's usually the best light. But if you want to be more aggressive, then midday light could be also something that you like. But the thing is here, look for the light and understand what type of light will do different types of moods. That's the most important thing, so that you decide what the light will be, or you photograph when the light is right. And then get out of your comfort zone. This is a common advice, and I think it's a very, very good one, because trying some other things in photography, trying different genres, will start to appreciate the other genres too, because you know how hard it is. Because if you just try something, you won't most likely get that good images at first. But if something that you might like, and you might learn and take something towards your comfort zone, which, let's say that you're a nature photographer or you're a portrait photographer, just switch and make portraits of birds if you're a portrait photographer in the studio. And if you're photographing birds, try to photograph your loved ones, make portraits of them, learn something about that, and because then you will learn about the light that I was talking in the previous advice that I've gotten way back when I was starting photography. But get out of your comfort zone. That will make you more alert, and you need to solve problems so that your creativity will get a boost. And then the next one is more about when I was, I've been photographing for my profession and client work for many, many years. I started to do my own project and took some workshops. And one of the workshops was by Anders Petersen, who is best known for his first body of work, Café Lemits. If you don't know that, it's a great book, as you see from this B-roll that I shot, going through the images in that book. He had a very unique style, and we needed to photograph more horrible, or to be more horrible. And that was the advice: be horrible. which means that you have to be more raw and more into the subject. It's really hard to explain what it means, but if you look at his photographs, you understand what I mean. And that was something that I'm not necessarily that type of photographer that I would like to do this type of work a lot. But getting out of my comfort zone and being horrible was something that was really good for me, because that opened up a lot of eyes and made me understand more deeply what actually photography is. It's not about getting all those images sharp and people looking nice and polished, but it's also the rough side, which was really a big revelation at the time when I did that. Yes, I was one of those, let's say, pixel peepers that was very worried about the sharpness. Yes, but luckily I went to this workshop and that turned my head a bit, so I could kind of open up my mind. Think with your gut. And that's another good lesson, is to think with your gut, which means that throw yourself into the situation and just photograph without too much over-processing what you're photographing. It's not easy, but the best way is just to photograph everything you see. And if you haven't ever seen videos how Daido Moriyama shoots and photographs, a Japanese street photographer who has his unique style, which is also quite raw, and he is being horrible, and he thinks with his gut. He shoots tons and tons of images. Think with your gut and make those images that raise emotions in the viewer, so that when the viewer sees the image, the viewer feels something, and that's the gut feeling. And before I go to those advices that I have habit of giving to other photographers, what is the best advice you've gotten? Please share it in the comment section, because we all can learn from those advice, because that's what I got, and most likely we all got and get different advice. So please tell us in the comments down below. I get a lot of questions that, okay, my nephew, my son, my daughter, somebody that I know wants to be a photographer and spin photographing, and been really keen on that. What photo school or school where they teach photography should she or he attend? I always say that go to a business school, because if you want to be a professional photographer, it's all about running a business. That's what it is. It's a business. And if you don't have the business skills, most likely it doesn't matter how good of a photographer you are, you won't be succeeding, because you don't understand the business side of all these. If you have the skills to be a photographer, get those marketing and business skills, and then gradually build up from that. You will most likely be a lot better in your craft and in your business. And then the second thing is be yourself. This is what I've talked a lot in my videos, that you need to be yourself. Trust yourself, trust your instinct. Photograph what you want and don't photograph what you're expected to photograph, because that is the biggest pitfall or a rabbit hole that you can go, that you think that you need to photograph this and that because everybody else is doing that. And that won't get you anywhere. You will be frustrated, you will not be happy. The most important thing is to be yourself and be happy and photograph the stuff that you want. You will evolve as a photographer. You will be more confident about your photography. The next one is get out, which means that get out there and photograph, and do not watch all the time these YouTube videos, except watch this all the way to the end and then you can go out and shoot. But if you get out more and shoot and take that as a habit of or part of your everyday life, that will also make you a better photographer. You start getting those really great images in because you're photographing all the time. And I'm not saying that amount or the mass of photographers will get you better. Yes, but you have more possibilities, you have more training if you go out and photograph all the time. But what kind of advice do you give to photographers that are starting out? Because I know that there are a lot of experienced photographers watching my channel. What are your advices you give young photographers if they ask you some help? And here are some more videos about photography that might boost up your creativity. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.